Hi, and welcome back to the Positive Prepper. Today I want to talk about 10 possible tipping points that could push us into a major SHTF event. I want you to look at this video through two perspectives. The first one is the domino effect. So if you have a small failure in one part of the system, that could initiate larger failures in other areas of the system. Okay, does that make sense? So one thing that happens is going to knock all those dominoes down. The second way I want you to view this video is through likelihood, imminence, and impact. So in your opinion, what is the likelihood of something happening? How imminent do you think it could happen? And what impact would it have on you if it did? Okay, so domino effect, likelihood, imminence, and impact. That's how I want you to view this video. I'm only going to tell you what these things are. I want you to form your own opinion about what you think could be the biggest tipping point. Okay? And I got these from a Canadian prepper. So if you want to go check out his video, please do. But I've kind of shortened it a little bit and I'm just going to give you them, these 10 tipping points, and you decide likelihood, imminence, impact, and then view it from that domino effect perspective. So the first one is conflict. Obviously, there's a lot of conflict going on in the world. All of your usual suspects we've been talking about for a while now. Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, Israel, Hamas, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Jordan, right? And there's more. It seems like that conflict is growing. Of course, you got North Korea, South Korea. We also have a conflict that's growing right here on our homeland down in Texas on the southern border. So conflict, it's here, but what do you think that the likelihood of it escalating, how imminent, and the impact that it would have on you? The next one is climate shifts, and I'm not going to use climate change because I don't adhere to that terminology. You know, the sun has its solar maximums and its solar minimums, and we have different climate events that happen depending on where it's all at. But because there are some climate shifts, especially because we're in like a super El Nino, I think, that could lead to greater hurricanes. Okay, so something to be prepared for as well. Plus, there's a lot of volcanoes that are sort of waking up, right? Earthquakes, you get it. The next one is the scarcity of commodities. Remember back in the pandemic of 2020, toilet paper, hand sanitizer, all of that stuff was really hard to get a hold of because everybody went out and got it, and then they were selling it on eBay for $200 a roll, right? But because there could be a major disruption in the supply chain, some of our commodities, whether it's food or paper products, personal hygiene products, you know, whatever, that could become a challenge. I'll just put it that way, down the road. The next one is cybersecurity threats. They are going after our infrastructure, our power grid. That's the big one. Water, right? Our cell phones, trying to get as much data as they can. Holding your information hostage. You know, we know that that's going on right now, but again, think of likelihood, imminence, and impact in your opinion. The next one is contagion. So they're talking about this disease X, you know, whatever that looks like, nobody knows yet. But I believe in May, a lot of countries are going to sign on to an agreement with the WHO that in the event of another global pandemic, that the WHO will have the ability to tell the other governments how they should respond to it. You know, it strikes me, and I don't believe in coincidences, but they start talking about this disease X, and this, by the way, came out after they had already started working on this agreement with the WHO. So hand in hand, those parallel lines, disease X with this agreement. But again, you form your own opinion about what you think that means. The next one is collapse of the global financial system. There's, that huge push to get us to a digital currency because it's easier to control, right? And so that could, obviously, that would impact a lot of other areas if the global financial system went down. And we're already seeing a lot of cracks in that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well as we get further into these global conflicts. The next one is censorship. So we already know that there are certain things that you can and cannot say. And, it's a violation of our First Amendment right. We have the right to free speech. And your delusion is not my reality. But in this day and age, if someone is called the wrong pronoun, that person can get arrested because it's an attack, right? And then, of course, if you have certain religious beliefs, you are more apt to get censored than if you have a different religious belief or no religious belief. If you support a certain side or a certain person, you are more apt to get censored than other people. If you have 8 PhDs in the medical science, if you are not repeating what they want you to repeat, then you will get censored because you are giving information other than what they want you to give. The next one is civil unrest. Now, we're seeing this, almost on a daily basis with all of the protests. And then again, remember back in the pandemic of 2020, you had the peaceful protests. We were just burning buildings down, right? That's all that was happening. No big deal. But that could become increasingly worse also, especially with what's going on with the U.S. government going against Texas. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, right? The next one is, and then what I also want to say about the civil unrest is, what is going to be the tipping point within the tipping point? Is it going to be another racial event that happens, or something perceived to be a racial event, or will it be an escalation at the southern border in Texas? What is it that's going to escalate the civil unrest? And along with that, the next one is citizenship. So, our immigration crisis. Lots of places are being overrun. And we're a sanctuary city, we want everybody here, are now saying, no, we don't want anymore. We can't take them. We can't house them. We can't feed them. And that is creating civil unrest too, because a lot of American citizens are saying, wait, I need a photo ID to get on an airplane. Whereas if you are an illegal person, if you are a criminal that crossed our border illegally, they have made a way for you to travel on commercial airline flights without a photo ID. And so that also could exacerbate some of that civil unrest going on that's already happening because of the immigration crisis. The last one is things like AI, bioengineering, and invasive technology. So we know that, just about everything around us listens to us, right? And records and documents, what you're buying, what you're saying, what songs you're listening to, what books you're reading, who are your friends, what church are you affiliated with, right? These are all things that they are able to put together a pretty good picture about who you are and what kind of domestic terrorist list you might have to be put on. But outside of that, if you look at the thing that they were pushing a few years ago, the bioengineering and how that changed and made a lot of people stop breathing suddenly. And then we also have the AI where, it's getting really hard to distinguish between what's real and what's not. Because, they can, as I've said, I think not that long ago, one of my videos, they can take your face and they could put it on this person doing this thing, and it wasn't you. But it's really getting difficult to discern between fact and fiction. And I can see that going down a whole lot of roads that could potentially enhance the risk for an SHTF. There is a movie that Mr. P and I watched. It's called World War IV, and it's on YouTube. And the premise of it is that there was one guy that was controlling all of these conflicts that were going on. And I can't say that he necessarily used AI, but imagine that they can take your voice, President Biden's voice, or Xi Jinping's voice, and they can create this audio and they can blast it out there across social media or news media, and everybody thinks that this is what was really said by this person in order to create that conflict. So we have to be extra vigilant in the information that we're receiving and making sure that we do our research on it. Could they possibly have said this? In what context was it said, right? And what is the meaning behind it? So again, these are 10 possible tipping point things, and I want you to see them through that domino effect. So like I said, if we have another global pandemic, that's going to affect the global financial system. It's going to affect civil unrest. It's going to affect censorship, right? All of these systems are intertwined. And one small failure in that system can initiate widespread failures in the entire system. And then also I want you to look at these through what are the likelihoods of any of these happening, if they're not already, in your opinion. How imminent do you think that this would lead to a major SHTF event, and then what impact would that have on you? So these are some things I want you to think about. And in terms of your prepping, you need to keep going. You need to keep going. The next video I'm going to put out is actually about that, about why we need to keep going in this, especially now. So that will be my next video coming out. But Don't forget to hit that like button, please. Hit the subscribe and notification bell if you haven't already. Stay safe, stay aware, and God bless.